This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, so welcome to the March 20th, 2025 meeting of the Easthampton Energy Advisory Committee. I am Jamie Paquette, the chair of the committee, and I am joined by all of our lovely committee members today, Kathy Eckhoff, Tommy Duffley, Josh Rosenblatt, John Pepe, and for the first time by Sophie Protana, correct?
You can't even know how excited we are.
I feel like every room I walk into, everyone's so excited. Very welcome.
Yeah, we've been watching for a while.
Yes.
Excited to catch you up on all the different things that we have going on.
Pray you don't go running.
Everybody making the arrangements you needed to be here, getting other meetings canceled, bringing members of the public with you to
Very attentive.
hang out. Yeah. I don't see anyone online at the moment, but before we get into that, the minutes that Connie took and sent out from the last meeting, do we have any comments or any motion to approve?
I'm going to approve.
I second.
Approved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. No opposition. These minutes are approved. And those over to the clerk's office. Now public speak. Members of the public like to say anything?
So then, why am I here?
Yeah. Why am I being dragged? I tell it to my kids all the time. I was like, you don't know like all the things I had to get dragged to.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I know.
Still.
Well, right. Totally. All
We
right.
used to be left in cars, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are the good old days.
Before they learned that overheated cars was better.
For hours. That's what they said. People didn't know that.
It was accidental that they did it. I don't get
All right, so some quick committee updates. On the Bees Committee front, let's see. I think we've been small. We have a new member on the Bees Committee, Renee Loftus-Hill, if anybody knows her. So it's very exciting. She actually works in the field of biology, like that. So she was at the last meeting. Also, I believe Connie Denham is now coming on as the city council rep. We'll confirm that later today when we have our next meeting. In the meantime, I know, John, I connected you with a couple of the folks there to talk about prep and scheduling. We can get into more of our public outreach stuff, but anything specific in terms of our discussions with them or anything that comes out of that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll yield at that point to Sophie to talk about this planning group that's been working between Bees and DPW planning in her office.
Okay, right, because I know that Bees Committee folks.
That's another part of the agenda, actually.
Is it?
Public outreach?
There's public outreach events. Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a second. So, this is just for more general updates. I wasn't sure if there's any other messaging or anything that came out of that that's outside of that. The sustainability coordinator is the update.
Cross that off.
Sitting in front of us. Welcome again.
Done.
Officially. I think now going forward, you've got to be our liaison to the city.
Yeah.
Working in the DPW office. So yeah, very, very excited to have you there or helping us with all the various things we have going on, and I'm sure taking on lots of other stuff as well.
I have a very simple question. Where is the DPW office? Is it in this building?
It's in the, it's right on the first floor. I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
the one past the personnel office.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Just
Yes.
wanted to know where you were. Okay.
On the other hiring front, the other upcoming hire, I believe it's still upcoming, is an energy advocate. And maybe you know more about where that is. I meant to ask Lindsay for an update on if there have been people reaching out or applicants
Yes.
for that.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us
Yeah.
what you know?
So we screened applications on Tuesday, I want to say, and have reached out to 3 applicants for interviews.
Great.
We're doing 2 interviews, I think on the 27th, and then 1 interview the following week. So hopefully from those applicants, we're able to pick someone and don't need to go back to the drawing board, but it's.
Do they look good?
Yeah, the three that we picked were great. The rest of the applicants, there were a couple maybes, so they're in the, if the top tier doesn't work out pile. But yeah, very promising. So,
Great.
And that suggests that they have some experience already with energy related stuff.
yes, yeah, I think all three of the people we called in do. Some of them have mass save experience. directly,
Oh, that
so-
would be-
Yeah, that would be great.
Reminder, this person is 20 hours a week, is that right?
19, I want to say.
Okay, close
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, I
Just
think
so that we don't have
But
to pay
spread
benefits.
between,
I'm
well,
sure that's-
spread between three cities, Westhampton, Northampton, Easthampton.
Right.
So we're, if you have to divide it like that, we might get, what does that come to? 6 hours out of the 20 or less, 5, 6 hours.
But it-
Well,
Hopefully there'll be overlapping.
I think it's gonna be probably, I mean, we'll see. It'll depend on the targets they go after. And just to connect this dot, like this energy advocate is specifically for the Mass Save Community First Partnership program, which is between us, Northampton, Westhampton. I imagine it might be somewhat proportional to population or whatever. So I think, Northampton obviously would be, the largest, Easthampton and Westhampton. But they are going to be working here in the Easthampton. Their office is going to be located here
That's good.
at 50 Payson. So,
Nice.
that may give us a little bit of a leg up there, just in terms of
And the
proximity.
program, it's also going to be, part of it is going to be coordinating the three communities. There won't be always separate events. The whole idea that,
Yeah, and
Okay.
there could be, landlords or whoever that are like, own property in all three or two out of the three, things like that, right? It's like those things don't stop at the border.
In terms of the selection process, are there people from Northampton and Westhampton also in these interviews that you just had?
Yes, it's, I don't believe that Lindsay is going to be a part of the interview, so it's going to be me. It's going to be, I think, the town administrator from Westhampton, and then someone on the climate action planning committee or not committee, the climate action planning office from
From
Northampton. So yeah,
Northampton, okay.
Or, yeah, either Ben or Gabby.
It's Gabby,
Got it, okay. Great, yeah, she was the one who was instrumental in orchestrating the
Yeah.
whole thing. They worked with her,
Mhm.
wrote the draft that we then contributed to and everything. So, which is great.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, excited that energy advocate thing is moving forward, and we'll have more updates coming up in a minute here on the Community First Partnership and where that stands and all the pieces and things that fall into place with that. But another exciting, look forward for energy work here in town.
Related, just,
Good.
did you all see the Gazette story on the regional energy person being hired at PVPC who's gonna help
No.
serve this area?
Okay,
I mean, you're dividing them up between 14 towns, cities and towns, but they got a substantial grant, like 150 or 200 something $1,000 from probably the
state, yeah,
but
probably not.
to hire this person, and I'm hoping that somebody like at that level, especially if they have really good experience, can put together some materials that can be used in any of the towns, whether it's the other Pioneer Valley towns or it's the three that are under our energy advocate, so the energy advocate doesn't have to reinvent every wheel,
Mhm.
when they get on the job. Then some materials and things and shortcuts and resources can be made available by that person.
and what is this
Right.
person called? What is,
It's energy. I have to look at the article in the Gazette. It was a few days ago. It's a regional, it's a
I'll look it up.
PVPA, Pioneer, PVPC, energy.
I'll look it up.
Coordinator or
I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
Okay, well, that's exciting too, and that's gonna be Hampden and Hampshire counties or
Yeah,
whatever they
Yeah.
normally operate.
I mean, they may be a ways off from, they just got the grant. I doubt they're too far along in figuring out who's gonna fill the role.
Right. Okay. Well, the next piece, I did move up because Cassie, I wasn't sure how much time.
You can move
have.
them back down.
Can you move back down?
We gotta leave, right?
Okay.
She actually does not. Our other
Oh.
meeting was canceled. We can talk about the business recognition program. Is that it?
And I have lots of news to report. I met with Sophie and Edic met on Tuesday to review the material.
Sophie and who?
Edic, EDIC. Have reviewed, the materials and for the announcement letter, they were on board with it. They want to take ownership. Edict wants to take ownership of the program. And since it seems very reasonable, since the climate action plan designates Edict as being responsible for business. So, the new chamber director is likely to be hired late April, mid-May. And so the board member who's on Edict says this is like a great opportunity for them to, make their imprint on the community. So their signature will be on the letter when it goes out. And I drafted a press release that I understand I would need to go through Lindsay to get in the paper. And then I drafted a registration form. I hope you guys are able to access that.
You
Yes,
sent it out, right? Looks good.
yeah, I did
Yeah,
that
that's
on my work
fantastic.
account. I added what I called, it's Sophie's suggestion, plant-based meat alternatives on the list, but I did leave off chemicals
Yeah,
because
that's,
it's nowhere mentioned in the climate action
that makes
plan.
sense.
So that's kind of where,
Is it organic? The organic foods, is that what you mean by chemicals?
No,
Well,
we were
chemicals
talking
in the
about,
business.
we were talking about like cleaning supplies
Oh,
that
yeah.
they use,
Yeah.
energy friendly or
Yeah.
environmental friendly
Yeah.
cleaning supplies. Also, would it be plant-based meat solely, or could plant-based like milk options be an option as well? Because I'm thinking of the.
you
ice
can make
cream
up the
place.
rules.
Okay.
I mean, but is that in the climate plan and do we care? I mean,
I'll check.
Okay, I'm not.
but I don't also, I'm not sure we care about the cleaning materials, whether or not in the climate
No, I
plan.
agree.
That's really why I
We're
was
not,
saying.
it's not a blueprint. If it was a
Right.
blueprint, our work would all be set for us, but it's more of a guide, I think.
Mhm.
That's true.
But make sure to include vegetables on the plant-based fed vegetables, please.
Okay.
Not to be left off. Taking me seriously.
Plant-based vegetables.
Yeah.
What a concept.
Just because a lot of coffee shops have like vegan milk and stuff like that, I think
Yeah.
it might be eligible for.
Okay. I will check to see if it's in the climate
It may
action
be,
plan.
yeah. Right, I don't know how, I'm sure there's been studies done on energy, embodied energy and all these different products or whatever. and what-
Well, the whole pasturing issue
Mm,
of
Right,
cows.
right.
Exactly. I know.
So that's the materials angle on it. So we've been kind of floating, who needs to sign off on this? And, what kind of approvals do we need? So without any real guidance, I just reached out to Tom Peak, who's my city councilor. And he said, because there's really virtually no money involved in this program, the city council would need to sign off on it. And then he added another email, but we'd definitely like to be kept informed. So we talked about that at Edict, and it was suggested that we need to get on the agenda for the city council. Unfortunately, it's budget season, so their agenda is full. And their recommendation was to make a 3-minute announcement and public comment.
Yep.
What do you guys
I
think?
think that's
Yeah.
perfect.
It's a great idea.
Agreed, and I think it goes along with, I was on a call earlier this week with the mayor, and so I'll get to that in a minute, but, that's basically what she wanted me to do as well, to talk aggregation and just to give updates on stuff there, so, so we could get on the agenda and do kind of a joint, here, she was like, yeah, just go and like, give an update on what you all are up to, what's going on. So that would be a good thing for that. And again, this doesn't require anybody's sign off other than like, if the chamber or EDIC is putting their stamp on it and, want some sort of approval there. But other than that, again, you can kind of make up the parameters of what the criteria are and who meets it. It's just our own thing.
Yeah.
So there's no rigorous legal loopholes that we have to be mindful of, really. Just like set it up and then just inform them, let them know that this is coming.
Great.
And that if they have any, interest or input, they can certainly reach out to us or outside of the council meeting and just talk about it.
Okay. So are you going to April public
I
comment?
have not done anything with that information or action yet, so, when is the, I don't even know when the next meetings are, I'm gonna need to look it up, so. All right, you and I have a little bit of homework to see
Okay.
when the city council meetings are, and then, I mean, she did say to reach out to get it listed on the agenda as maybe just like a quick, not even.
Under public comment?
Well, I think, yeah, or just as like an update from the Energy Advisory Committee, like outside of like public speak
Oh,
specifically, like just us coming like, hey, here's a quick update, but it's not,
Okay.
not a debatable, agenda item or anything like that. Just-
Okay.
So that's what I can do, figure out when the meeting is. I can reach out to them and try to get up there.
is there a clerk to public comment to the committee or?
I mean, I think it's just the city clerk's office, right? Don't they?
Barbara
Don't
Lamar?
they handle the agenda? Yeah, how much longer is Barbara?
I think she's gone.
Is she officially gone?
And the party fireworks.
Pat Ruff posted pictures from a party.
Okay.
Well, it was the last council meeting
Oh,
that
that's
she
it.
was gonna be here for. So she may not be gone yet, because that was the
Okay.
other night.
If not, then I think Mary Ann is the other.
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
but that's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll just figure out who that is and we'll reach out.
I just, Barbara Lombard leaving it. The number of people at high level positions who have left here in the last
Wow.
Yeah.
year and a half, too, it's just incredible. And a lot of them are being replaced, but
Can't blame her.
No.
No, she's been
no,
here
it's not a
since
matter
Doug
of
was
blame.
gone.
It's just, it's,
Be surprised.
It's
She
right.
could recite everyone's
Is there-
here's address, but remember.
And our political
Are there,
party.
are there any hints to someone who could take Barbara's position? Not replace
I
her.
know it's been posted. I don't know if, what the process for viewing applicants for that is, but.
You're looking for an easy job?
No, it's not an easy
Not
job.
an easy job.
What her assistant would take.
I mean, it's possible, but yeah, I don't have any insight.
One other thing is the decals. So I'm hoping you guys will give me the go-ahead to approve the design and to have the consultants modify the logo, the climate action plan
Mhm.
logo to include the words business partner. Do I have?
I move that
approval?
we approve the design and the allocation of, what did you say?
None.
our entire budget.
Yes, yes,
To include the word business.
100%.
and to
that's
include,
zero.
yes.
I second the motion.
All right, so I'm not sure that this officially requires a motion, but we have a motion.
I'm happy to get one
Yeah,
just
okay.
to
So
cover
we
my
had a
butt.
motion
Yeah.
to approve Cassie to have the design modified and to get details printed.
Well, about the decals being printed,
Okay,
those cost money.
right.
So, I mean, we're not talking serious money, but,
All right, well, let's do this. So we have an approval, we have a motion and an approval to have you move forward with that. Can we get a quote?
I will get quotes.
See what that's gonna cost, and then maybe we got.
Back in the day,
W or
EDFC
somebody
did
like
have
a
some money.
petty cash. I don't know.
And, you know, this is the second time we have confronted the fact that we don't have a budget.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that we can talk to the administration about, is whether there's, because we wanted to get the resident plans printed up, and Lindsay just did it for me.
Right,
But things are coming up and we're gonna need things for some of the events we're planning. So it might be a good idea to ask, do we have a budget? And how much is it?
well, we don't, number one. Number two, I think our best bet is to just work with Lindsay in the mayor's office. I mean, they have.
Just ask them to do,
Yeah, I mean,
to
we're,
get us the
you know,
money when we need
we're
it.
kind of serving at, at their, what do we find out? It's set up from an administrative, edict or something like that.
Okay.
But anyway, but I would just say, especially for small things like, we say, hey, we need $150 to print these decals.
Yeah.
Can you approve that? Can you help us get that done?
Okay.
Okay.
Or we want to print more of these to this guy.
Yeah.
Can you do that for us? Or, is there?
Kind of a la carte.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think,
Her office is what should have a budget. I don't know if you do yet, but
True.
that's a good argument for, materials, publicity, various things.
right.
I mean, I would rather know it was there than it was necessarily in our in our hands, because she could probably sign off on things.
It might, of course, it wouldn't be
much power?
they might have to like put it into the budget, the city count at the city. I mean, maybe simpler to just ask for money.
Well, that's
I don't know.
okay,
We should find out.
But they're just kind of like a fund of money that's like, not earmarked for specific.
Yeah,
things, right?
it might be the.
I'm saying the mayor's
easier.
office probably has one, DPW may have one as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we could.
Usually, when you ask for money too, you have a menu of, in order priority of what it is you want it for, and not how much it costs.
Right.
Yep.
Or otherwise they'll say, here, okay, here's $5.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why we want to let's find out what that costs to get a quote. If we know that there's printing and we want to get a quote somewhere, so because we want to print 500 copies or
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
Then let's go to, Paradise or wherever and say, okay, this is what it's going to cost, and can we get that approved? And if not, then we go.
I was thinking we needed 150, but what do you guys think?
I don't know. I just made that
Units?
number up. Is that right?
Are they
$1.
But it also depends on price. It might, how much do you have, how big do you have to go to get a really good price? That
Right.
will
Yeah, but we
determine
wouldn't
it, too.
need 750
No.
if that's the
Yeah,
next.
I think, right. How many
Yeah.
well, because how many
How many, this,
potential people, businesses would there be that have them?
that's a good question.
Certainly
They don't
more than
know that.
150.
Once they make a master, the next copies should be,
Right.
if we may get 50 and we need 1,000, going back later to get.
Right, one
Or
exact design
expensive
set up
cheap, right?
or whatever,
Right.
yeah, just like
Yeah.
interior. You have somewhere to go to get a quote for these?
Yeah, you just go online and
just
look.
online.
Yeah, like there's Vistaprint and Waltham. There are vendors out there for this. And I kind of scoped it out earlier and Vistaprint was at the high end at around $10 a sticker. But, but there were cheaper ones out
Does
there.
Paradise do that?
I don't know, and I will check.
All right, well, do a little investigating. Vistaprint's in my work inbox constantly with discounts as well. It's like
Oh, it's,
certain things, certain places like.
Oh,
it's
it's-
never full price.
but they're really good. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And they're in Waltham.
All right, we'll come back with, see if you can find a couple things there, for what that'll cost and we'll figure out.
So we are really looking at a mid-May rollout for this thing.
Great.
Say it again.
Mid-May.
That's great.
Is there a vehicle to, even if it's informal, to give some comment on the classifications? I mean, there's, not that you would change the items necessarily that are listed, but how they're interpreted, like native plantings, native, landscaping. Somebody puts in a bush, whatever, that classifies versus somebody who does, their entire street front or whatever. I mean, where
I
the,
think the goal was to keep this simple.
Yeah.
And so I think once we start developing more robust criteria that would require inspection,
Yeah.
I think that becomes a much bigger project.
Sure.
I don't know what others think, but I'm kind of in favor of the KISS approach to this.
Yeah.
I see that, but when the point is that without that, it's still gonna come down to when you get a proposal, somebody's gonna do a little half-ass thing and somebody else is gonna do, a comprehensive effort and,
Well, they're
Well, maybe-
on a case-by-case basis, though, aren't they? So if someone does a half-ass job,
that's just gonna be a
we may
discussion.
just say,
But the
Sorry,
other
you need to call
possibility
me
is if there are some organizations that have really, done something spectacular, maybe that could be the press release, the advertisement for the program is to sort of highlight some of these businesses that are wow. They don't just get a decal, they get some publicity for it.
I think that we don't want to make it hard for ourselves. And no matter who gets it, it's promoting the climate action
Yeah.
plan.
I'm just saying that, that would be what, in going down the road, if we want to publicize it, we could choose some of those, if there was like a standout business, so that'd be an obvious
Right.
reasons to choose, that's all. And I'm not saying it has to happen, I understand.
Yeah, I think getting the framework in place and all that in place first, and then worrying about the
Seeing
quality of
where it
the
goes.
applications that we get, is EDIC gonna be the ones reviewing and approving? these?
No, they're gonna go to you.
I'll take it.
Okay, that's,
well,
Okay.
will it be just you who makes the decisions?
Go for it.
If I have the I mean, I'd be happy to bring my recommendations to you guys and we can approve it together, or I can just sign off.
I'm not sure if I were in your shoes, I'd want to be the sole person.
It's too
All
much
they're
power.
doing is, all they're doing is checking a box.
Yeah, I don't think it's really.
But, you know,
Well, I
if
think
someone,
we should
you know,
be-
what John was saying, if someone just puts one like one little bush and thinks that they're now being good for the environment.
Yeah, no, I think there could be a level, I mean, you know, EDIC could, I mean, if their name's gonna be on, it's the business recognition
Sure.
program, so maybe they wanna have some level of sign off, or if we wanna just be referred to, you know, say, hey, yeah, we give this our blessing, like,
Yeah.
we don't need to make it super complicated, but
Yeah.
at the very least, we could say, you know, all applications will be reviewed, combination of, you know, sustainability coordinator and the advisory
I wasn't
and
counting.
EDIC.
No. I didn't think you were. It's, I mean, if there's ever one that is sort of on the fence, maybe those cases we can.
That's
a good idea.
If there's one that are obvious. I'm
Yeah.
happy
It'll be
to just-
weird to
yeah.
reject. I'm sorry, you didn't do a good enough job. We're not gonna give you a sticker. I mean, if they're
I
applying,
mean, yeah, what are they
hopefully
getting?
they'll
No.
think that, hopefully they'll done something a little more than just a bush.
Yeah.
If they're gonna
Yeah,
apply.
if they do just do a bush, it's one bush that wasn't there before. you
Yeah.
know? It's just
Yeah,
one more plant in the city. I'm not gonna be mad at that.
Poison ivy.
Like,
Okay, so next time around, we'll know
I'll
more
bring a
about
proposal.
costs and we'll be closer to rolling this out, and then we can talk
Yay.
more about, you know, any sort of framework we want to have for review and approval, but I think consensus here is right, that, you know, simple is better, and if there's questions about things, then we can widen that a little bit to say, does this really meet, you know, the level of thing that we want to commemorate here?
And Gwen and I thought it would be fun to drive around to businesses that we know meet criteria and
Yeah.
just say,
I love
here.
that. Congratulations. Yeah.
Look,
That is a good
I
idea.
take a picture of you and
Yeah.
receiving the decal.
there's a newspaper.
While eating the meal
Yeah.
that they.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move to the next bit here, which is our expanding list of public outreach events. A couple of these are driven by Northampton, A and C here, because they're related to rollout of heat pump and like the Electrify program. So when we spoke last, we were on a call with Mass CEC a couple weeks ago. And I guess,
I'm so sorry, I didn't.
no, I think you knew, but you weren't, I was the one who was put on the invitation. But anyway, they came out that Ben from Northampton mentioned that they were doing these events, March 26th at the Northampton Senior Center, focused on heat pumps. And then May 6th, an actual like Electrify and Community First Partnership introduction, which would, you know, Energy Advocate sounds like we'll have one by then. So it'll be a chance for them to be there and to meet the public, and people can come to that. And they invited us to have, you know, a presence beyond even just the Energy Advocate if we wanted. I think they may have a couple other groups. And I don't know if you've spoken to them about these or learned any more about them.
I have,
Sense,
yeah.
yeah.
My understanding is sort of like, I would be there as a viewer.
Okay.
Not necessarily to answer any questions or be on a panel, but just be a participant in the event. So,
Right.
and we can do what we can also, especially for the May event, to promote it as part of the outreach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we want to push that out there, and
Yeah.
maybe that's like the official
Right.
kickoff for all of us.
Mhm.
I mean, we could also look at doing something here, you know, with Easthampton focus and but again, we've got Cultural Chaos, which can be certainly a vehicle for that.
sure.
I don't know how familiar you are with that
Yeah.
event, but yeah, so, you know, it's a big one.
Mhm.
And also we have our April event potentially. So why don't, and that's probably required for most back and forth or updates and discussions. So, why don't we talk about where we might be with that? Yeah.
On the last thing before,
Sure.
you said A and C
A
were
and C.
driven by Northampton.
Yeah,
Well, they're certainly located there, and one of them is, I don't know, something they might have already been doing. The first one, you know,
Right.
technical stuff about heat pumps, they're gonna do it anyway for their own local initiatives. They're trying to put a coaching program together over there. But going down the line, I would expect that there isn't, you know, if it's driven by Northampton, sometimes it's driven by us, other times, then we're gonna get
right.
to be the site of some of the events and outreach,
Yeah,
as well as the work of the consultant to revise, for sure. But now that you're here, you got our back at those meetings.
Right. Yeah, so all that, I mean, I say driven by them only because like I learned of it from them. They
Yeah.
already had it in place,
Yeah,
you know, before we
Yeah.
even talked about it, which I didn't know at the time. And so, and then you had you got the flyers or whatever that you forwarded along. So that's all. But I think, like I said, yeah, I mean, Easthampton person, I mean, the electrified person will be based here. They'll be doing work in Easthampton. If we wanted to have them, you know, have our advocate at a public event here, we can certainly do that again, whether April or June or something else. So yeah, it's certainly up to us to you know, do our own thing to the extent that we can be mindful of their time and the different things they have to do. But I think totally worthwhile to help kick it off here too.
Quick question about cultural chaos.
Yeah.
I thought traditionally it's on a Sunday. Is it on the 14th?
It is on the 14th. Yeah,
It's a Saturday.
it's a Saturday. Yeah, they do it on Saturday. And there's no rain date either. So,
We've done it in the rain before.
what's that?
We've done it in the rain before.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the 15th would be Father's Day, right? Is the third,
Yeah.
third Sunday in June.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's on the 14th. There's another thing I didn't put on here too, which I also learned about, which is they're doing a 100-year anniversary event for Daly Field, I think at some point, like Parks and Rec.
What
Oh,
is that?
really?
Daily Field?
Wow.
Daly Field, which is up
Naughton?
by, between the high school and Nonotuck. I think, yeah, I heard they're going to be doing some sort of day, and that's like the following weekend, the June 21st weekend. Some sort of big 100-year thing there, which could be a larger city event, which, yeah,
I'm sorry, did you say when you think it's gonna be?
I believe it's June 21st weekend. I was at part of the last Parks and Rec committee meeting or something else.
And then Sophie sent out to our committee some other events that are in the works, which.
So that's in this next
Yeah.
topic here. The only thing I have to say about it is just that, you know, throughout the idea, I think we discussed it at our last meeting too, but about some sort of coordinated, unified campaign that brings together the work going on all these different here, Big B's, DPW planning department, all of it, mayor stuff. You know, I think my idea was to be kind of led by, although you don't want to get caught up in dry stuff and stats and whatever, but led by the whole framework of our climate action plan, which hasn't really been trotted out to the public in any, you know, massive way.
Right.
But, you know, and encompassing all the different things we're doing and succeeding at or moving along with the municipal aggregation, the electrified campaign, the hiring of new staff, initiatives by the Bees Committee, just all of those things, wrapping them together and trying to have kind of brand it and have a, you know, common theme for the whole thing. So that, and Sophie will go into the planning, you know, the preliminary planning that's been put together, but
Mhm.
mayor and DPW director and others liked enough to come to a meeting and talk about it. And then from there, we had a smaller planning group with Sophie, Allison from planning, Sean from Bees, myself, Connie,
Okay.
and started drumming up some ideas, and then Sophie's taken it and run with it. So you
Are
want to
we
talk
okay?
about?
Are we on agenda?
We're on B. Yes,
Okay.
5B.
Yeah, so
So
I,
Earth Day was dropped. I mean, that was the original target. I forgot to say was let's lay it all out in one big fell swoop, but we were not ready, and
Right.
so.
and I do think that I have to confirm this with Lindsay. I do think there's going to be some type of announcement or something on Earth Day to basically mark the beginning of the series of events. I think the mayor had brought up like raising an Earth flag or something
Yeah.
to just basically show we're going to be starting this initiative over the course of X months to
Mhm.
make these plans and these committees and the work sort of
Mhm.
more available to the public.
Mhm.
So the first kind of event that's been confirmed, and I worked with Allison primarily took the lead on this, was a rain barrel distribution, which is happening on May 22nd. So we get all of the marketing materials and everything from, the Great American Rain Barrel Company. They send over all the education stuff and we just have to make people aware of it. And once the materials get sent out, I think it's 6 weeks in between them and when the actual event takes place. So I think
Mhm.
They were gonna drop off the barrels earlier in the day on the 22nd, and then the pickup window will be from 3:30 to 5:30. So I think we're gonna have some kind of, we haven't nailed down these details, if we're gonna have some kind of table there as a sort of information, making people aware of how it relates to, the pollinator.
That is such a good
plan,
idea.
or,
Yeah.
just so that they can sort of connect the rain barrel to other, city initiatives.
This is why we're doing this.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's sold at a discount, right?
They're a
Yes.
very good deal. I did
Yeah.
that. They are a very good deal.
No, I know.
Yeah, Easthampton did that about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Did rain barrels.
I had to correct some of that on
$60,
Facebook.
I forget that. They're much less
They're
nearby
not,
than.
but they're,
I got mine free.
Do we know how, let's get it back to.
Yeah.
I forget, she told me how much each of the barrels cost, and I immediately, I want to say I think that there's different prices if you get a painted one versus a non-painted
that's
one, or
right.
the color that you pick is different. I believe they're in the realm of $60 to $80.
They're much less than if you go to buy them at retail. That's,
Yeah.
Right.
but they aren't free.
Does anybody know how many have been? You heard how many have been previously distributed, and maybe Bees knows. You're in previous, because this isn't the first time
Pretty
around.
was the last time they did it, I believe. So last year there was
That's
one,
fine.
but they did it for a couple years prior to that. So planning, I think, would probably know.
Allison would have the
Yeah,
numbers
they're the
on that
ones
for
who
sure. Yeah.
did it.
Yep.
Related but separate. Does planning still do compost?
Yes,
Like earth
so
machines and stuff like that too?
that's another thing that Allison and I talked about, was we have a revolving fund for the compost bins.
Mhm.
So we have the ability to purchase them in bulk, take the proceeds from people
Right.
that are buying them, and put that back into the revolving fund.
Okay.
And John and I have been talking to someone over at this company, Banana Compost, and they do these compost demonstrations. So it was kind of up in the air potentially to have this event where people pick up their compost bin that they pre-order, and then have Banana Compost come in and do some kind of demonstration. And I don't know, it sounds like it would be a volunteer opportunity on their part, where they would literally just come in for
Oh,
free
yeah.
and show people.
Oh, yeah,
So,
well, they're interested in business. too.
yes, exactly.
They're
So,
willing to do curbside,
Yep.
more curbside in this area.
yes,
Really?
yeah.
That's cool.
That's a great idea. Once again, have a little table, say how this all relates. I love it.
Yeah.
And
Love
I
it.
know Sean and Bees involved, I'm sure we'll talk about it later
Yes.
too. Yeah, those two things obviously dovetail very nicely with
For
their
sure.
messaging on other things you can be
Yes.
doing around your house and that sort of stuff. So
Exactly, yeah. And I actually just got an email from Pascalina that we are confirmed to have a table at Cultural Chaos.
Good.
What we're going to do with the table is a little bit up in the air. Allison and I have talked about, so I actually got an email from this woman. Well, the planning got the email, they forwarded it to me, from this Girl Scout troop leader, and her troop is interested in doing some kind of pollinator projects. And this
Excellent.
obviously relates more specifically to bees, but their ultimate goal would be to implement a pollinator garden in Easthampton. And I spoke with members of the DPW today, and they gave me a suggested plot. They don't seem to have an issue with it, as long as I'm able to come up with the funding and the labor to put it together and maintain it.
Where did they
Um,
suggest?
They suggested, I have to get the exact address, but somewhere in between the mill buildings.
Do you know where I keep thinking would be a great place is, when you go down the bicycle path and you come to Payson, there's a water fountain right there, and there's all that grass all around. There's some benches. It seems like it's such a nice place
We're on the other side.
across the street from
Across
Canton.
the side by the-
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, it's such a nice little place
Oh.
anyway, and people sit on those
Is that
benches all the
Williston?
time.
Is that Williston?
It starts with Williston,
It's right,
between
it's right next to the Williston property, but I'm sure it belongs to the
Williston
city.
and the safety company.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's next to
They
the safety
collect
complex.
our son? Probably.
Yes, that's why I keep thinking about it whenever I go by there.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know,
Yeah,
they may have a
and-
reason they don't want to do it
And
there.
nothing
but,
is confirmed, so if I come to them with a recommendation,
Yeah.
I could get there. and
But
put it on.
that-
And bees
what
has
happened
done
to the-
invasive removal in that.
What
section.
happened to the pollinator garden the bees were going to develop? Does
Well,
that happen?
I mean, again, looking to talk to DPW about like what's a.
I thought they'd already chosen a spot.
No.
I don't believe so.
Yeah,
I
I discussed, but nothing had been finalized.
Yeah, okay.
There was one point we were out kind of like scouting locations or talking about different things, but
Okay,
nothing had come to fruition. So, I mean, the mill building area out by Millside Park maybe is where we're talking about, or there's those other areas, water side there that,
right, that's where I thought they decided to do it.
yeah.
To do
That's, I
theirs.
think, what
Yeah,
Sophie's talking about.
yeah. So, but are these, I mean, the Girl Scouts would be separate from the one the Bees is doing, yes?
I believe so.
Yeah, so we could
I'm
have
going to be
two.
at their committee meeting tonight, and
Yeah.
I am happy to loop them into the discussion. I'm sure they'd be happy to volunteer for, planting, or I was thinking of some kind of native plant drive to get donations or seeds
Sure.
or whatever to
Oh, yeah.
make it actually,
And,
and maybe they'd be a resource for
and
that.
you know what's the name of that place that grows native plants and they provide them to the garden in the woods? Begins with an N. There's a company, it's a nonprofit, I think, that grows only native plants,
Okay.
sort of north of here somewhere.
Sunderland and
Say it again?
they're in
North
Sunderland,
Farms?
North Hatfield.
No, is it Norse?
No, it's
they
like,
do
it's like
fruit.
Nyatic or something. But I
There's
wonder
also-
whether they,
There's also one up north of Cummington.
but I just wonder whether
When
they would be
we did
interested
our-
in getting
when we
involved.
did our pollinator garden.
Yeah.
We went up there and they only produce.
Right, maybe we're talking about the
All
same.
right, so I'm gonna rein us in here because that is more of a bee
It is more of a
discussion, and we'll cover that
that.
later, but I do want to get back to sort of what, that's okay. I know, yeah, it's great. that There's all these things happening and like more public facing stuff. But in terms of the specifics for John, what you all have been discussing, and we got into the rain barrel thing and whatever, but like, it sounds like we're still planning to do something else, right? Or, okay.
Let's keep going.
That would be great. Yeah. My final comment on cultural chaos is that we were thinking we could rope the Girl Scouts into that as well and have it related to art in some way. Like we've been talking about having the Girl Scouts make posters for, promoting pollinators that we could make prints out of and sell kind of thing. So we're thinking cultural chaos is going to be more of an artistic lean on things than an energy lean on things, but we still have we want to do at least one a month, and we still have some open months where we don't have events. So if there's energy focused events or anything like that, we're definitely open to suggestions and happy to kind of get the ball rolling.
Is it possible to get a second space at Cultural Chaos?
When you say we have a table, is that DPW or planning or who? Or-
The initiative has a table at Cultural Chaos.
Yeah.
I got the email, so I don't know, it's not my table, but whatever I think we decide to do with the planning group, we'll have that table there. So, and I think that all the tables have been finalized, so I'm not sure if there's any additional room, but
I mean, we shared with these last year and
Okay.
with planning put it up and like
Yep.
we just were there. And so I'm sure we can
Yeah.
make that work.
Mhm.
It would be very nice to also include the aggregation program. Because actually last year we ran around telling people about it. And
Well-
it's,
That's gonna have its own outreach structure and implementation timeline. And yeah, but we may have things to talk about there. I don't know that again that we'll be able to get a separate table for it if we haven't already requested one, but maybe, because it's mostly gonna be on Cottage Street. Is there gonna be anything here at 50 Payson as well?
I don't
Usually-
believe so. I think
Usually
it's
just Cottage
all
Street.
on
Yeah.
Cottage Street,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And I know, it comes all the way down to the end of the pond here, but,
well, actually what happened last year was we actually did have a table, but from our point of view, because we really wanted to talk about the aggregation program, it was really more about just walking to the crowds and giving them
Yeah.
information. We could still do that even if we didn't have a table,
yeah.
if we wanted to.
To Sophie's point, if there's gonna be these monthly events, like maybe that becomes the focus of something else. Because the thing about cultural chaos is it brings in a lot of people from
Out of
outside
town.
Easthampton.
That's true.
So
That's
there's a
true.
lot of people for whom that would not apply.
That's
per
true.
se. So again, with things like rain barrels and then we could always be ready to talk about aggregation at these other things or do something else like in July. It sounds like, what's likely to happen with aggregation to jump ahead is, probably a rollout in the next couple months and public notice periods and things are going live around
Mhm.
July.
So,
So maybe, and by that point, everyone's gonna have received notices and been
Right.
already, signed up and done all that sort of stuff. So,
so there were a couple more things that you had on the Monarch Pledge. What is that?
Oh, yeah, it's just, that again goes back to bees and pollinators, but I just signed the mayor up to pledge these certain actions that
I
align
love
with this program. So that's probably more of the pollinator garden side of things as well.
What's your name? Talk about your name.
Oh, I had proposed the name Easthampton Climate Outreach Initiative, and we can shorten it to the Eco Initiative.
mhm.
Isn't that good?
That is so good. That is so good. So good.
We haven't confirmed it at the planning group, but I was gonna put that forth as the.
So good. And then you also said something about the art floats.
Oh,
Easthampton.
so there's another event. This also could be an opportunity to rope in any kind of energy initiatives. It's a new event this September. And it's an artist focused initiative where, they're gonna have like local artists build these boats that they put in the pond. And there's gonna be an opportunity for, if we call it the Eco Initiative, for the Eco Initiative to table at this event, potentially partnering with the pond association or trust. Yes, so
I love that.
we have these
It's
events
cute,
kind
cute,
of,
cute.
it sounds
Yeah.
adorable. We have these kind of events like on the table, and then we just need to figure out what connections we want to make. Farmers markets are another potential opportunity. East
Yeah.
Hampton residents are gonna be there.
Right.
So there's a lot kind of that needs to get fleshed out, but.
Okay.
Is it gonna be a race? Is it one of those things where you bet on?
I don't think it is. I think it's more of just like an exhibition, like to highlight local
Yeah.
art.
Right, like a Mardi Gras parade or something.
Sort of, yeah.
I love it.
Local-
Yeah, it sounds
Really
fun.
nice.
That's September 20th, from 2 to 4 p.m.
Got a couple more questions and comments around this before we move on to other stuff if we can.
Well, yeah, good.
Yeah, one is, other events that I haven't heard mention of that was brought up at one of our early meetings of that planning group. One is something that was gonna happen. Planning department was involved with New City. I think it was about specking out their a new playground or something in the New City neighborhood, and they were gonna be having some kind of maybe there wasn't an event. It was just about the public process around scoping out a new playground over there. You
Mhm.
remember this? All right, we'll
I
bring it
know,
up
I don't
Monday.
remember this.
I'll bring it up on Monday. But there was also the Porch Fest,
Yes.
Right.
but ours is in October, right? I
Mhm.
think Northampton was having something called Back Porch, but that was like at the Academy of Music.
That's a
Yeah.
big thing, yeah.
Yeah,
that's a-
so
Yep.
that's in the fall.
Yep.
So that's another
Porch Fest is more like
possibility.
the ad hoc.
And that's New City.
All around town. It's, yeah.
That's been New City, so that's another opportunity to maybe be out there. Another one that I'm wondering if, where it went was the not the,
Oh, the art.
not the Nashwanik, groups, plant sale, but the Arbor Day.
The Arbor
plant
Day?
Tree sales.
So I had asked Greg
Donation.
about this. He'd like just ordered the trees for this seedling distribution for Arbor Day. And I asked him what date he thought it was, and he didn't know. So that might be something to confirm with Lindsay or Allison if they have any sort of association with it. He said that he thought that it was the 19th, but that didn't necessarily make sense based on the time of like the month that Arbor Day is. So we have the seedling distribution tentatively
Yeah.
in April. That could also be an option. So I can send out a calendar too. I've made a little calendar of events if anyone's interested.
Was that the one that, there was some discussion about it happening at Big E?
Yes,
And how good of
Oh,
a
yeah.
way of getting contact with people if we
Yep,
were
that
set
was-
up.
I thought they decided to do it the Saturday after, Earth Day because the Saturday before is the day before Easter.
I thought so too, but Greg didn't seem to remember that conversation. So
Because I
I
remember saying I was available. That's why
I also remember that discussion, but
And
I
I-
don't.
My final thought on that was just, I'm afraid that we don't, that, I don't want to put it this way exactly, but lose sight of the, forest for the trees. But my proposal originally was, let's figure out what we have to communicate and what vehicles we're going to use to get it to people, whether it's, theater or art or handouts or demos or tours, and figure out what we need to make those presentations and then look for the venues and who's going to do it and all that stuff. But what I'm afraid of is that what I don't want to see happen is that we get too much into, we're just kind of bouncing from one event to the other, depending on who's happened to be putting something on. I mean, right now, we're not ready with all those other materials, I think. And that's something I think the group should discuss is, like you or Good Energy, when you're ready, that we should have a nice, concise summary of the aggregation plan. We could use something on the code, the opt-in specialized electric code. I'm working on climate action plan, kind of a shorter, something you could put on, what do you call it again? we talked about the board,
or some.
the storyboard type
Story,
story.
yeah.
So this is what we're gonna talk about on Monday, right? That's the point of that meeting.
Yeah, but here's some of the expertise is right here. I mean, the code pretty well, municipal aggregation, or have the contacts with people who can put that together.
Right.
With Sophie's, working with Sophie maybe, but somebody's gonna have to do the work. And she can't do it all of putting materials together
Mhm.
that are, and then we want the brand on them. We want the logo on all of them. We want to unify it.
Right.
Connect
Would
it.
this be like the eco initiative would have its own
Yeah.
logo brand kind of thing?
Yeah, we can talk about that, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how good it is,
But
but
the only thing about it is we already have a logo that's gonna be in our decals that's on the climate action plan. And I really liked what you made, but I wonder whether we can
if there's a way to tie it in a
incorporate,
little bit better,
I don't know,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I can take a look at that. I made this very,
it's actually very nice.
it's kind of elementary,
Oh my
Oh, I
God,
like that.
I'm
but
telling you.
I liked it in a circle because maybe we could print stickers and then this.
I like the hand,
The
there are a lot of
hands
nice things
on them.
about it, yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but that probably is a planning discussion. I'm happy to reach out when we have the events, if I need materials or education stuff from you guys, I can.
Oh my God, this woman is so talented.
So much.
Couple steps
You've already
ahead.
done so much. How long have you been here? A
Yeah, I
day?
mean,
Again, I'm here 10 hours a day, gotta fill the time, so I work quick.
yeah, like I almost wonder if we're gonna have that sort of branding, if then,
Maybe we should,
with the business recognition program, almost even like pulls into like that, the eco initiative that becomes a part of
Yeah.
that.
I've actually also
It's
made
like,
a
maybe it's like you got
couple,
the sticker has like a couple of different logos, or
I've
like
made-
complimentary things on it.
I'm just saying,
Versions, you mean?
I've made like 6 versions of the logo where I take the font and I put it around, like I have one for a pollinator event, I have one for an
That's
energy
really
event.
so good.
And I can put all those together and send them if you're interested.
Yeah.
I can make one for the businesses as well.
But what about because you guys, you made sure that we could use what was developed for the climate action plan. It seems like if that's on the climate action plan, we should consider maybe having that inside the hands.
Sure.
I don't know.
I'll definitely
but-
look into it
yeah.
if we want to make it more.
The graphic.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we use whatever's going to be used broadly.
I agree.
You know,
You're right.
yeah,
That
yeah.
makes so much
Okay.
sense.
And the other thing is if we own it and can modify it, that's a good thing because then we won't have to go to Weston and Sampson and asking for freebies.
Right.
Also t-shirts.
Oh, calm down.
The one thing I need to check though is I made this through Canva and that was one of the Canva like pre-made templates. I don't know if there's rules or copyright or anything for
right,
the imagery.
right.
So it was more of,
Fair use or whatever, but yeah.
I didn't have to pay for that decal, but I used
If
it.
you're using it as something, I mean, we're not making.
We're not making
not
money
making
off
money.
of it,
Uh,
Yeah.
but if it's gonna be on our branding stuff,
Yeah.
I might have to just confirm that it's fair use.
All right, to tie this back around, you are the working group, let's just call it, we're meeting again on Monday to talk through next steps, but it sounds like we're not, the Earth Day thing or April event has been taken off the table. And we're looking at other options for some of these other events, but to John's point, we still maybe at some point want to have something that is like much more energy focused and like focused on all these things. I mean, like the May 6th thing that Northampton is doing around Electrify and the CFP, like maybe we want to do something else like that. Again, it's not a cultural cast where it's going to get drowned out by so many other things, but it's something else that really focuses on the heat pumps and, and Electrify and aggregation and edict for business recognition program and all
And
that.
we might be 3-4 months away from being ready because either the programs aren't ready or the materials that we want to give to people.
Right. But that's fine, because if we start, it sounds like there's already a drumbeat of more of these things happening, and some things are us or B's or both, and I think that's all great and can all be used to start generating a little more interest in things in the climate action plan, all the associated pieces.
Yeah, because I was under the impression that this committee that's meeting on Monday was about what you're talking about, that it was focused on our
Yes.
developing
ways to inform the public about the climate action plan.
Yep.
And the other things that have come
Agreed.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, we call it the eco working group, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry to raise this question yet again. What is the city's plan to roll out the climate action plan? Do you know?
I
You don't
think-
have to
I
know.
think I'm the one that's.
There isn't one. As of
I
a
don't
week and
think
a
there
half
is
ago, there
one
wasn't
way
one.
to do it. I think my role is supposed to sort of start looking into specifically the municipal action items and then determining how we get those
Or just
going.
like, no, just announcing that. we
Oh,
have
announcing
one.
it. I think that's what this is sort of supposed to be, is the
Okay.
outreach program is making people
Got it.
aware of it. So
Yeah.
that's the focus of it,
Okay.
but we're gonna also tie in the aggregation, the pollinator.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll look for, report. I mean, we won't be meeting for a little while. You all are meeting on Monday. If there's a need for updates or input before that, let me know. Let me work with Sophie to handle all that. But that's great. I think it's great that we have a group that's going to continue meeting and then focusing on this stuff. 'Cause I know it's easier to solve when there's multiple groups and things working together than us just like once a month trying to like throw things at the wall and see if anything sticks till we get back to next month. So excited about that. And yeah, if you say that you have like a calendar or whatever to share that.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay, so that is outreach. So we'll go through some other programmatic updates here. Municipal aggregation. So if I'm going to assume you're at least broadly familiar with what this is.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, we're at the point now where we're basically about to go out to bid. We're going to receive some bids. And we had a pre-bid meeting on Monday with Good Energy, the mayor and I, just to talk about what they're seeing out there right now. The quick upshot is that, you know, what they've seen in some recent bids or proposals, you know, a little bit higher numbers than maybe would be ideal, but they're still pretty optimistic that we'll be able to put something out there. You know, because we again don't know what's going to happen to rates in July yet. We won't know until May. Yeah, everybody maybe just got the same email I did from Eversource saying we're all getting a $50 credit on our bills, mandated by the government, not by Eversource themselves. But yeah, they'll take credit for whatever they can, right? But anyway, so we're gonna have to see, you know, because we don't want to roll this out in a way that's like, hey, here's what you're paying now, and we're gonna opt you into this program that's gonna cost you more. We at least want to be able to show, you know, 6+ months of runway of like lower pricing. Beyond that, of course, we can't guarantee what's going to happen with the markets or with anything else. But I mean, once we sign a contract, that price is locked in for 2 to 3 years that we're going to do. So I believe Monday is called bid day, I think Monday or Tuesday. Where we expect to see the bids from 2 or 3 different, and the pricing on that. And we're going to have a quick meeting to review all that and get a decision on what to do. But you know, then if assuming that we have something to move forward with, and things kick into gear from there. You know, contracting happens pretty fast. You know, everything gets signed off on. There's not a lot of room for negotiation. It's sort of like, this is what it is. And then it starts, the process of rollout starts, which means getting things together, updating the website, starting to figure out when the public notice period is, like getting the materials together that's going to go out in the mailer, and everything else that has to happen. From a legal standpoint and just from a good practices standpoint, to let people know that this is happening, that they are going to be part of it, unless they opt themselves out. And see, here's your 3 options. You'll be opted into the standard unless you choose to move into the basic or the plus service. And I'm excited to see what the pricing looks like comparatively. I think they said right now, Eversource pricing is like 11.5 cents a kilowatt hour or something like that, not including, that's just for generation, not for delivery.
That's 50 cents.
The delivery is still, that doesn't change. Like there's still, Eversource still gets to deliver the energy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll provide any updates there's not really any, again, city or committee requirements right now. We get into that once things officially roll out, but it did sound like, we do all that and then looking around like a July 1st, in full implementation, everyone having it switched over, and up and running then. So that is the hope. If anybody has any questions, move on to the next couple things, which we've already talked about quite a bit, but there are a few other things to note. So electrify Easthampton, Northampton, energy advocate hiring is in process. We also, at the meeting we had with Mass CEC, heard that with Revise, the chosen contractor, last we heard they were still working through some contractual things with them, trying to get all that finalized. They did anticipate, I think, like, an April, May timeframe. For actually, that's not even the energy advocate hire for that. That's a separate. The electrify piece does not have a designated staff person. It's promoting it because Revise is the contractor. But hopefully the Revise stuff will get settled here soon for April, May rollout of that program. And they did break down for me too a little bit, like expected costs of the program in terms of like, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but the overall administrative cost plus what was being set aside for incentives. Right, because part of that program is additional cash incentives for people to take on this work. So that's all being finalized as part of the whole thing. So now some of the targets Revise is going to be going after are going to be very similar to what the Mass Save Community First Partnership is going after, and that's where the energy advocate will be working across the 3 towns to try to drum up interest and signups for the Mass Save programs, both for small homeowners, for larger landlords and larger buildings, as well as small commercial. Sorry, one of the other things about Electrify is that they did have they're setting some targets too in terms of like the number of total buildings or clients that would be brought into the program, plus a number of additional ones that would be done, have like targeted air sealing done. That's another part of the program. So those 2 things are going to be just have some targets set. The Mass Save Community First Partnership, I don't think it has any set targets. So we have like communities that we're going to do outreach to, but I don't think we have like benchmarking in terms of like we need to bring in this many people to the program. But there are going to be a bunch of upcoming trainings. I know my inbox is getting a lot of things from folks from the state and DOER who's overseeing this about trainings in April. And Sophie, have you been getting all those things as well?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, it's something that the energy advocate more so would be going to, or
I think I did register.
you may, you and Gabi probably would be the
Yep.
people outside of the energy advocate who want to know what's going on with all that stuff. Hopefully I don't need to register for all that.
I'm starting to lose track of what the different.
That's
things
okay. I'm a
are.
little bit all over the place here.
Electrification, the efficiency program, that's the money we got from the
That's the
explosion.
Columbia Gas settlement money.
Then, the
Community First Partnership. Sorry, I'll just try to.
no, yes, that's what I want you to do.
Community First Partnership is the 3-year grant that we got with Northampton and
Okay,
Westhampton
thank you.
to promote Mass Save. It's from it's Mass Save money.
Thank you.
Through DOER to promote. And the problem they're trying to solve is they're sort of like middle class donut hole that the Mass Save program is.
Electrify Northampton is the donut hole.
Well, that's separate. That's like that's so again, that's Electrify is that's extra incentives beyond Mass Save, right? You can still do
Okay.
Mass Save and do Electrify, which would then get you extra incentives for a heat pump or other things. Mostly going to be focused on heat pumps, but and then Mass Save does what it does, which is around overall efficiency, air sealing, blowing in insulation, like all those sorts of things. And then there's really.
Eversource heard what you were saying about them.
Yeah. All right. So I know it's a little confusing. There's a lot of overlap between them. This electrified thing has been a long time in the making since that The illusion is like that money's been sitting, well, even longer. I mean,
Yeah.
when we first started talking about it, it was like 3 years, right? So it's finally coming to fruition.
And the Electrify program, does it have communities that it's targeting? And
Revise is gonna figure that out, but
Oh, they
yes.
haven't just- okay.
So, yeah, they are. I mean, they're targeting homeowners, they're targeting, landlords, I think.
I was supposed to be low and moderate, low income and landlords.
Yeah.
well, that's, is it low
moderate.
income? That's
So
what I was.
No, I was gonna say something kind of unrelated.
Okay.
It's just that Gabi and I have been talking actually today about an additional grant called the Empower Grant. And that grant specifically targets, environmental justice communities and engages them
Okay.
with, solar panels and heat pumps and stuff like that. So that is
Okay.
a potential other thing to get added to the list. I haven't confirmed with Lindsay whether or not we want to be a part of the grant. I would love to be, but I need to get.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So yeah, so it's all a little confusing. The Energy Advocate's doing one piece, Revise is doing another piece.
Empower.
Sophie would be touching all of it.
Empower would be co-op power is I don't know if you
But-
engage with them.
They're
I mean,
what?
is they're the lead applicant on the grant.
And, oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, because they do a lot of
Organization.
low income.
Yeah, we would just.
Solar
be-
and
right.
things like that.
Yep.
Which. So anyway, okay, so I'm not gonna go into all the different upcoming trainings other than to say that you're aware of them and involved and our eyes and ears for that,
Sure.
until such a time as we have an advocate on board.
Yes.
Another seat at the table for them to give us all the updates on what's going on there.
Mhm.
And are you in touch with folks from Mass CEC, or are you and Gabi talking also about the Electrify program on that level?
Remind me who.
Revise,
is.
It's the Clean It Mass. They're the ones who are overseeing that contract with Revise.
She so far has been my point of contact. I'm sure she's communicating.
Yeah,
with
she was
them.
on, I think, she
Yeah.
and Ben were on.
Yep.
Where Ben was on the call, I was on with Mass CEC
Yep.
at the very end of February, right before you started.
Okay.
So, yes, they're aware,
Okay.
and it's just a matter of, again, like waiting for that contract to
Got
be finalized again. Figuring out who at Revise we're dealing with and who's in charge, and then their, outreach and reporting, and tying them into all these other events that they're gonna wanna be a part of. I mean, they're gonna maybe come in and be like, hey, we wanna do an outreach event.
Yep.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, great, you figure it out, publicize it,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
get some other things there. Again, the Energy Advocate's gonna need to publicize and like do public events too, because they need to get as many eyes and ears on things as possible.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're already a little past 4, so. Green communities. Sorry.
So quiet.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Oh, boy. All right, so I'm gonna move on from all that stuff, and then we'll get more updates. Coming, the Green Communities and Climate Leader Communities piece, reached out to Chris Mason at DOER. I think Sophie was interested in knowing, seeing our application. I actually reached out first because I just was curious what was going on with our application, because I've heard nothing about it. And, Cassie sent it in quite some time ago, other Cassie. So anyway, so I just was looking for an update on if they had a timeline for whatever. And then, he got back and said it was submitted, but they don't have a specific time frame yet.
A couple weeks.
A couple weeks, okay.
Yeah.
And then he was getting,
I'm gonna get access to
Sophie
them.
access to the actual application, because Cassie Traeger was still the listed person in their systems. So they're working through that to get access to it. So a couple weeks that we should have action on that. Or
I
hopefully an
believe
approval.
by the end of March, because I think that the funding starts to become available at the beginning of April. So they have to notify the cities like within that time frame. So it will be soon.
And the other question that we didn't have answered for is what exactly are they funding? We really don't know what it means. if
What,
they
for the
get,
climate leader community?
yeah, like,
Been looking into, she's looking into all these grants.
no,
Well,
but that's what I'm saying. At the time we made the application, it was unclear what the benefits were actually gonna be.
well, it's
so-
new and still, I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
They have publicized the amount of money. Let me find the money.
I mean, if nothing else, on top of whatever money, there's the name recognition, whatever prestige part of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether it's earned or not, it's,
Yeah,
Even if
There's-
you're in an elite club.
That's right.
there's two that we would be eligible for. There's a technical support grant, which is $7.5 million total, and it helps sort of in the technical support. I don't know.
How much again?
It's $7.5 million for the technical
The
support
pool,
grant.
the pool of money.
But
I
then,
understand.
then the decarbonization accelerator grant, which I think is actually implementing the plans that you would put together with the technical support grant. There's $52.5 million available to climate leaders to implement the projects.
This is a state grant?
52 and a half.
Yeah, it's all state.
Mass, yeah. Yeah.
That one's 7.
What's the first word? Accelerator or something?
Decarbonization
Okay.
accelerator grant.
And how much was that one?
52.
That was 52.5 million, and additional funding will be available for projects that specifically target EJ communities, which we have some that we could look into specific projects if we want to get.
Yeah, great. So good to know that there is sort of a time frame around that now. Because, yeah, there's other, the spring grant cycle for green communities, we haven't identified any projects or anything like that. So I think we'll let you get settled a little bit more as we figure out the swing of things, and then, probably start to identify green communities or climate leader funding opportunities and things that we might want to do.
Yep.
In terms of the 2024 grant proposal, actually, we never did one, but the annual report and reporting, John, are we still all good on that?
Yeah, we passed muster with that after a few rounds of getting things clarified.
All right, I'll try to remember to take that off the agenda next time. All right, anything else around green communities, climate leader stuff anybody has?
Oh, are there meetings that they had some gatherings that the state sponsored green communities. I guess that'll be probably, we'll find out with a climate leader whether they do special technical sessions, on how to advance your plans, whether you get a grant or not. I'm hoping there's something that they just offer climate leader communities. But anyway, can you keep your ear out for that?
For sure, yeah.
All right, yeah, we'll hear more.
We never showed up to accept our green community award last
Oh, right.
fall.
Yeah.
They said come tomorrow to
To Boston?
Leominster or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Nobody could go.
All right. I've left the school bus piece on here, but I think that's kind of DOA for now.
Yeah,
right? Till I don't know. Yeah.
That's just driven off the sunset.
Look good, the children are
Yeah.
all freeze in the snow.
Yes.
In Chesterfield.
Yeah. All right, and then the community solar partnership with Sunwell has been another ongoing thing, and Sophie, for your edification, they reached out to us a while ago. They're another one that does community solar,
Okay.
and they do it for low income.
Okay.
They specifically target low income subscribers. So they've done stuff with Cambridge and some other places around the state, and they're interested in doing something with us, doing a mailer, trying to get access to our, local communities who would fit their profile. It's been slow going mostly because of me and just like focus elsewhere. And, I finally did talk to the mayor about it, and she's okay with it. She would want to see some of the materials. I can share stuff with you and maybe connect you to the person there. Because again, it could tie in, it's, along with this co-op power thing, you're talking about just another avenue to promote renewable energy, energy savings for people. I think they get to give a 20% discount for low income subscribers. And again, it just it just takes one part of your electric bill and moves it elsewhere, essentially. So I'm pretty sure they're still interested. They've been very patient with me, as I slow roll this whole thing. But again, they're interested. Yeah, they would help us produce like maybe another mailer that could go out that would target their program and maybe also promote now that we have this eco initiative thing, we could do a whole eco initiative branded.
That's so good. It's just so good.
But John, you have
Just, this was discussed a little bit in the planning meeting, not particularly focused on Sunwell, but about inviting vendors to events.
Right.
You know, whether it's the electric vehicles, inviting dealerships and other things.
Right.
And Mayor, my sense was the mayor had a pretty casual attitude about it, and that, you know, she said, well, if somebody is offended because another company's there and they're not there, she said, just make us a proposal. You know, come to us. We're not excluding anybody.
Picking and choosing losers and winners here. We're just
We're
trying.
awarding something. We'll do a competitive bid if we're going to award a contract or something.
Be a squeaky wheel.
In the meantime, come. And so Sunwealth, my thought was, to the extent we are having events in New City, whether it's back porch in the fall, or if they are doing something through the planning department over there
Mhm.
around this new, that they might be happy to show up and start, you know, being a face in the neighborhood. Yeah.
I'm sure they would.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll connect
Yeah.
Sophie to get another piece of this here, and yeah, it'll all tie back. You all can talk more about, you know, options on Monday and all that. So very excited for all those things. Do we have anything else that has not been discussed?
I just want to briefly say that John and I both took the heat pump advisor course. John understood it much better than I did, needless to say. But that is something that is still kind of on our back burner, is trying to develop people in Northampton and Easthampton who will be available for people who are just thinking about getting heat pumps and would like some more information about it.
Right.
And so that's still sort of, we haven't really talked about how we want to move forward with that, but
Something we could discuss at a future meeting here, or you and I
Yeah.
can also talk about.
and then one of the things that they said to us that I thought was very interesting is, if you're going to do this, you get feedback. You know, send out some surveys or try to get some information. That's something that I think we should think about with all of these things that we're doing, is thinking about trying to get some feedback from the community about what they like or what they think is like, why are you wasting my time with this? Or I just want to throw that out, that, you know, to think about how we might get some feedback.
Well, yeah, that's where I think we would maybe lean on Revise and Energy Advocate, people who are actively doing
Right.
this work to do that versus us.
Assuming they're doing it. That's, I just, you know.
Yeah.
think so.
So they're not going to get paid if they ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was this training an online course?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
still available?
There'll be another round, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was indefinite that this was gonna happen for months and months. They weren't sure. The last one you had started a year ago in the spring. They didn't offer anything in the fall. They decided to go ahead with one this spring. I don't know how much energy they have to do it again.
It's a
They
lot
had
of
like
work for
40
them.
people.
It's all volunteers.
Mostly Eastern Mass, 495 belt, you know, folks, but.
But one of
we had a
the
few-
teachers is in Northampton.
Yeah,
so-
Eric wrote it. So they're trying to organize they've got at least 3 people who've been through the training in Northampton, 3 at least, I think. And Eric's got more experience than the rest of them, and they're trying to put together a coaching program there, and I think they're happy to work with us some.
If it comes back up, I'd like to do it.
Yeah,
Or if there's a recording.
they'll go through the course with their online materials. It's what do you call that? Non-synchronous, whatever. It's not live. You just
Yeah.
go through it. And, that had some value. I did that a while back before I took the course. So I was more ready when the course actually happened. But, yeah.
When's the next meeting?
We had not officially
right.
set that yet. So yeah, we can do that. It's a good new business thing to do real quick. This was the last one that had been set. We had set the first quarter of the year, but not anything. So, if we stick with the third Thursday, it would be April 17th. How's that is?
And is this, I mean, do we need to talk about whether we want to meet on Thursdays? I don't know how people are feeling about that.
I mean, yeah, previously we were doing Mondays, but that was.
And then you changed it for me.
Yeah, well, Mondays are gonna be tougher.
Sorry,
for
it's your last
me
chance.
Once
Can't
soccer
change it back.
season starts too, because I'm probably,
Are Wednesdays not good?
Wednesday is not ideal for me. I mean, what time are you talking?
I was even thinking, actually, Thursday's fine for me too.
What about you, Cassie?
Not in April, but after April, third Thursday would work.
Okay, April, you have a conflict?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if I came for half an hour,
Right.
or to be in
Oh, so
Northampton
you're-
at 4.
Okay,
Well, what about Wednesday in April? What, did you say, what,
16th?
do the 16th?
I could probably make that work. On the 16th, if people want to do
Would
that.
that work for
fine with
you,
that.
Cassie?
I would have to leave at 4:30, but that's not the end of the world.
On Wednesday as well?
Okay, we're done.
I won't be there. I
We'll
won't be
put these
there.
on for 2 hours, but they
But-
shouldn't go that long.
I'm out of the country, but maybe,
You're out of the country that whole week, right?
2.5 weeks,
Yeah.
but I might be able to connect, for a Zoom.
Okay, when do you
No,
leave?
it would be
No. if you're not-
10 o'clock.
When do you leave? John? Or when do you return?
But, no, you're right. You know where I'm going?
No, just
Oh,
as
yeah,
you
you
were
know
going
what?
to Europe.
You know what? This
Going out Cape Verde Islands, which are
right.
in the Atlantic near.
I'm actually gonna say right now, 16th and 17th, it's actually possible I'm in Toronto,
Okay.
those 2 days. So.
If you try a doodle poll, I've been getting really good at it. Not really,
I
but
or not.
no,
What
Um,
about the 23rd and 24th?
Yeah, that's just during school vacation.
I'll be back.
I'm
Yeah, that's-
around,
I
probably.
can't do
Is
the
that gonna work for
24th,
you?
It'll be fine. I'm not going anywhere.
I can't do the 24th, but I could do the 23rd.
as can I.
23rd.
It's a Wednesday.
Done.
Once.
I'm coming back the 24th, so
You're back.
unless I can connect by Zoom.
Don't.
No,
On the plane. We want you to be on
I
the
mean, I'm
plane.
retired, so this is not like getting away from work and going for a vacation.
Right,
It doesn't
yeah.
really matter to me. It all blends together.
All right, let's pencil the 23rd and then maybe back to, Thursdays in May.
At 3 o'clock on the 23rd?
We'll stay with 3 o'clock, yeah.
it's so May 15th.
So then we're looking at May
April
15th.
15th.
Well, then May
No,
15th.
No,
I'm looking at
April
that.
23rd, May 15th, yeah, which we probably want to do it if there's going to be a May 22nd event we want to meet before.
And I am out of the country in May, so,
All of that?
well, from the 3rd to the
Rebels or
23rd,
whatever, yeah, okay.
yeah. And I will be
Okay.
there, so.
Well, we'll do our best. with,
And then
definitely
June
more
19th,
And then June 19th.
we do set for the second quarter.
Yeah, I mean, unless we don't feel like we need to meet before cultural chaos, in which case we can shoot for the 12th.
That might be a good idea.
So let's maybe consider the 12th.
12th is fine for
June,
me.
June,
No, I could not be there.
you could not be.
No way.
Okay, well, so John would miss one, Josh would miss one. you might.
June's an okay one for me to miss
Yeah.
because the business partner program will be up and running.
There you go. So we're saying June 12th?
Let's pencil in June 12th. Yeah, let me, I'll have to confirm that, there's nothing else booked in this room for these dates and times. And I'll have to get technology to give me a new Zoom link or Meet link. But let's go with those 3 dates for the time being.
Which was the third one?
June
June 12th.
12th. Yeah, try to do it. That's
Do all
2 days
Thursdays?
before. First one's a Wednesday.
I mean, the last two. are Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday. Right before cultural chaos, the last one. So we can do any planning and discussion meeting for that. All right, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
I need a
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.